Chaparral. It's considered creosote bush or greasewood is what it's called, and it is just lives up to its name because it captures the oil within the plant, and so there's no escaping it. It is very strong and very pungent. This is a serious plant. I would say that this would be a plant that may be considered a medicinal herb. This is a plant that you need to take serious consideration when you use medicinally, because it will bite back at you, or it will bring out weaknesses in your body. It will bring out other symptoms, latent infections. It will pull things through. It vibrates so deep that it even affects your emotions. And sometimes so much that when people jump into Chaparral, it overwhelms them so that they don't know where to go. And so they just don't go back to Chaparral because they did too much. Walk into Chaparral slowly, carefully. Respect this plant, and it will be one that you can explore the potential of this plant easily and simply if you just step into it and respect it. This is definitely a master plant. It grows up, thank heavens, in the southwestern parts of the United States, in Mexico, and in lower desert areas. It is definitely a plant that has its presence where there are not a lot of other things growing in the area. It definitely grows in sparse desert areas. It is a desert shrub that has lived, some people believe, longer than any other plant on the planet, and it has networks of different root systems that hold it together. They've been living for long periods of time, and this is an amazing plant that keeps alive in spite of its environment, one that we really need to get to know. Creosote. It is the smell and the taste of this plant. It just sticks with you like resin. You can use the whole plant, but you use the leaves and the twigs, and they have the oily resin on them. And part of this plant is harvesting it because it grows so prolifically throughout the desert and the southwest that you can harvest it readily. But when you harvest it, you need to make sure and know that there's little green snakes called Mojave greens that look this color. They look just like it. They're little snakes that have really nasty toxins, and they like, even though they're shy, they like this plant, and they often live under this plant. So because they're shy snakes, you don't have to worry about them, but I always rattle my bush or kick the bush from far away to make sure any critters or anything go away before I start to harvest my chaparral. Just a word to the wise. The Native Americans, they use this plant. They called it the mother of all plants. The mother of all plants. Of all the plants that the Native Americans used, this is the mother of all plants. I think we should pay attention to that. I think we should pay attention to that. There's a lot of history with purification ceremonies and using chaparral. The Native Americans would use them in telling stories, use it as part of that and part of cleansing purification ceremonies. They used it for bruises, for aches and owies, rheumatism type symptoms. They would use it for poultices, for chest pains and discomfort. They used it for all kinds of things, anytime anything hurt. My grandmother used it instead of using any pain medicine. I mean, in her days, aspirin was new because this is what she used for any type of discomfort. They used it for toothaches. The Native American used it as a digestive aid to help with elimination. It can help with intestinal disorders, can settle down diarrhea. And the Native Americans used it also on burns and scratches and sores and wounds to actually help them to heal up. They used it as a tea for colds, symptoms, and coughs and bronchitis type things. They used it for chicken pox and snake bites, for joint issues, for kidney and urinary tract issues. They also used it for menstrual complaints. And that is something that was passed down to the early settlers, including my family. This is an herb that my grandmother used all the time. And the early settlers passed this down, so it was just in her kitchen. She had a pot that was her chaparral pot and her creosote bushwash pot. The reason why it was the same pot was because no one else wanted to use it because it tastes like creosote bush. So whatever you cooked in this pot tasted awful. So they finally designated a pot just for creosote bush. And that little old lady, big strong girl, she would cook that stuff up and she would drink it, and it tastes crazy. It does not taste delicious in any way. There's no way to make it taste good. It just is what it is. But it's another one that loves water. And so for some reason, this resinous plant loves water, and one of the best ways to take it, to really immerse yourself in it, is in a liquid form. So my grandma would mix it up on the stove, and she would take it and drink a cup every day. And she said it took care of aches and pains, and it took care of all of her menopause symptoms. She had horrible symptoms. My mom said that my grandpa would took her to LA to all the Chinese doctors and everything, trying to help her get rid of her symptoms because she was bleeding to death. And so this was a long time ago. I mean, years and years, 80 years. My mom's 80 years old, and my mom remembers these things and as a teenager, and just they're struggling so much, but they brought back into her life at that time the creosote bush. All where they lived around there was the creosote bush, and that's where she found the solution. And till she could not do it anymore, to the end of her life, she drank Chaparral. She lived to be in her 90s. And it's an amazing thing to think that the power of plants is really in our history too. This is not just Native Americans. These are the early settlers. They used it for bruises and rashes. They used it for dandruff. They used it for hair wash. They wrote about it in their cookbooks for external wounds, for washing, and internally for wounds. They used it for help with diarrhea, upset stomach. I mean, they would have to eat some of that spoiled food, some of these pioneers, and they would get the problems. And then the bugs that are out and drinking the waters, and just they had upset stomach and diarrhea, and this was a problem. And this is a plant they relied on, and it was all along the path. It helped with menstrual problems. It helped with a different type of cancer symptoms associated with liver and kidney and stomach. They wrote about it. And the Mexicans, for centuries, they've known about this plant and talk about this plant for cancers and anti-tumor. It's just part of their society. They use it for that. In 1992, the FDA considered it to be toxic to the liver, and lots of warnings associated with that. In 1995, that suspension was lifted, but there's still lots of cautions associated with this, especially in America. And it's something that needs to be looked at, because it's not a fragile plant for fragile people. I think it's something that can help strengthen you, but you must use it a little bit at a time, and use it with respect. If you have so many toxins in your body, loading yourself up quickly to get rid of them as quickly as this plant wants to get rid of them, sometimes people can't sustain that. So you have to know that you must strengthen yourself. If you're that weak, you must strengthen yourself with barley and barley grass, and like different gruels made of like oatmeal, organic things like that, and grasses, like simple herbs, and work up to this type of plants that are so strong that you better hold on to your hat, because it just is a cleansing plant. It's what it does. It has vitamin C in it, and it can help increase the levels in the adrenal glands after ingestion. And so we know that the vitamin C is getting through. It has a number of different minerals in it. Of course it does. Packed full of minerals, because it tastes so strong. It's got all the trace minerals, tons of different things. It even has protein in it, and it definitely has high amounts of the bitter acid components that help you digest, break down toxins, and get it out of the body. Just large amounts of that. It has a protein in it similar to alfalfa, and it also is a natural type of very powerful antioxidant, where they've shown research on this type of anti-aging and regenerative type diseases associated with using these type of antioxidants. But anti-aging, think about, you're sloughing off all the old stuff, inviting new cells to create. But how fast you do that, sometimes you need to slow this herb down with a few other herbs if you want to go there. And slowing down for degenerative diseases. But this would be an herb you would marry with lots of other things, including eating really, really well. No doubt about cleansing with this herb. It helps to increase the body's circulation and can sweat out infections. It's a natural diuretic. When you drink this, you will go to the bathroom a lot, especially if you're drinking it in a liquid, and you'll need to drink lots of water, because it wants to attach to the other impure water or liquid in your body and bring it out of your body as quickly as possible. So we need to help that. lots of water. You help give it lots and lots of water to flush out the toxins. This is the best example is a slow moving creek or a river, and just like around the edges toxins grow and things multiply that aren't supposed to be there, and there's water down the middle that's really wonderful and clean, but around the edges it's just kind of toxic and not so great. Or a raging river where the water's running through so fast that it's purifying on the rocks and in the air, and it's purifying. That's what you want. You want to make your body a raging river. You want to drink lots of water when you're doing herbs to support flushing out those toxins that may be giving you issues or causing you just not to feel well. Natural blood purifier. I guess if you're going to look up a blood purifier that's an herb, this is it. Arthritis, symptoms, purifying for any type of toxic headaches or processed foods, or even attaching to heavy metals and helping move out of the body. Just a natural, all-around just blood purifier. It helps the body with cleansing and toning, and helps to rebuild and strengthen the eliminating organs like liver and kidney, and even strengthening and purifying the blood, the lymph system. It helps purify with the skin. You see changes in your skin, and strengthening of muscles, firming up, helping the body firm up the bowels, and strengthen and support the respiratory system in the body, and expels worms and parasites. And that's where some people get in trouble, because they do too much and they have a lot more toxins than they bargained for, and it all wants to come out at once. Plants that have such aroma to them, such distinct aroma to them, you know one thing about them: they are good for the lungs. They will help nourish the lungs. That's why this plant has been used, for so long for symptoms associated with flu and cold and bronchitis type symptoms, and inflammation of like the respiratory areas, and settling things down like that. Even inflammation of intestines where they're just inflamed and just kind of out of control. This particular plant was in the U.S. pharmacopoeia from 1842 to 1942 for an expectorant and a bronchial antiseptic. Those are things we should know about this plant. It is something that definitely can affect the immune system in helping the body get stronger so it can slough off excess candida in the body. I guess if that's what I know it for myself personally, and for those around me that have experienced this great plant, is for like getting yeast in the body to settle down. Whether it's skin yeast or candida in the body, or yeast and mucus forming in people's bodies, this seems to settle that down and let your body be strong enough, let your immune system be strong enough to be able to slough it off. But be careful, it will slough it off fast. You have to make sure that you're drinking enough water and you're eating pure foods to help those systems stay open so that you don't get sick, and your body makes you settle down. And when you get sick, it's your body's natural way of making you settle down and take care of yourself. That's what this herb does. It doesn't mess around. The Native Americans talked about it for cancer and dissolving tumors and things like that. It's known for that all over the world. Would it do that for you? I don't know. But is it known for that? It is. It's well worth looking at it. It's a component in black salve and external salve that have been used for centuries for weird things on the skin that just don't make sense, and cells that are kind of going a little bit crazy. Also, working with allergies, especially those that live around it. Sometimes it can help allergies and settle it down, not only by strengthening the immune system, but actually the resin in it capturing allergens and helping move it out of the body, and you be able to handle it in a way that your body can handle it more effectively. It's known for all the symptoms of pain. It was known by my grandma and my mom just as something that takes down in discomfort in the body, and thereby allowing, when it takes down discomfort and settles down inflammation symptoms, it can allow nutrients to go in at that time, allowing rejuvenation in the body. The safety issues with this, we talked about it having the cautions with the FDA. It has cautions in other countries too. It is a powerful, powerful cleanser that I really recommend that you use it with other herbs. I mean, there's some really powerful ways to use this herb, and it's a nearly free herb. You can, it's a very inexpensive herb, or just harvest it yourself. Very inexpensive, and I think nature made it that way. If you do too much, it can cause you to have headaches. If you're not eliminating properly through all the channels, it can cause pathways to fill up all really quickly, where you need to be able to get a colonic or an enema, or you need to be able to take herbs that can push the toxins through faster, and drinking lots of water. When you're taking Chaparral, you're on a cleanse, or you're aware that you're cleansing, especially if you take it in large amounts. If you take it in small amounts, it doesn't seem to be so strong, especially like if you're taking it in a powdered form. But once it goes to liquid, and that's the way that you take it, or even in pure form, it's all bets off. It is very, very strong. And so it is, you take it with other herbs that are supportive with it. One of my favorite formulas is lobelia and chaparral and aloe. I mean, those are all very powerful herbs. I mean, super strong herbs, but they have this magic combination to kind of help your digestive system work better. And for me, they seem to work well. It doesn't mean it's the right herb for you. If I needed to have a more gentle something for my colon rather than those really strong herbs, I would maybe mix chaparral with peppermint, or with slippery elm bark, or with even flax, to be able to slow it down, and even chia seeds, and so it could like slow it down and absorb, but yet your body would be able to still quickly, because of those herbs are very slippery, move through toxins through the body. And that's kind of just an idea of what you would do if you needed to slow it down. And so maybe you would use 1/10 of a part your formula would be, and the rest of the formula would be other herbs that would be supportive in cleansing, in the cleansing environment. Now there's, we talked about headaches that could happen, especially if you're using drugs or caffeine or alcohol or even chemotherapy type drugs. Headaches could occur because you're starting to move out toxins faster than your body is even has possibilities. I mean, think about it. You're afraid, especially if you're taking in some of those toxins and drugs and chemotherapy and those things that attack the whole body, and you're doing it to get better. You don't have a strong framework. So you're rushing in this really strong herb that doesn't really have the framework maybe to uphold it. So if you're very ill, or if you don't have a strong constitution, I recommend that you go to smaller, slower amounts of this. There's one of my favorite formulas that's called System Cleanse Tea. I call it that because it is an herb that cleanses every system of your body, but it's made in infusions, and it's equal parts. I think there's like 12 herbs in it, including red clover and licorice and chaparral, and it's just like a really strong tasting tea, but only 1/12 of it is like chaparral. It's equal parts of it, and and so it tones down the chaparral from taking over, even though chaparral's in it, because that's the prominent taste in it, and there's no hiding the taste. My favorite way is just to follow it with grape juice, because that makes it go down a little bit easier. But it is just so pungent and so wonderful to help and assist the body get the cleanse out. But make sure you're strong enough to do it. So with that being said, I'm going to tell you a super simple, free, if you have chaparral growing around you, 9-day cleanse. This 9-day cleanse is a cleanse that I had my apprentices a few years ago do. My philosophy is that I want us to be able to do anything that we would recommend to others. We can't pass this knowledge along unless we've done it, right? And so that's why I encourage you to do lots of these things, because you can't say, oh, I heard chaparral was good for cancer, blah, blah, and so they're doing all these chemo, everything, and their doctor doesn't know, and they're eating all this, and then bad things happen. Well, we can't do it like that. We have to be responsible for it. So when I was doing this apprenticeship, one of our sweet young apprentices, she's so great, this young mom with like 5 kids, and she just dives in, and she's just this adorable writer and herbalist, and she jumps into this 9-day cleanse I'm going to tell you about, and she writes an essay on it, entitles it something like The 9 Days I Lovingly Call Hell. It brought up every emotion from childhood stuff that ever came up in her life, because when you heal something in your body, you're not healing it unless you have new emotions associated with it. Period. That's it. You're not. So you gotta have anything that's as intense as chaparral has got to take you into your emotions and is going to vibrate it up, and you gotta get a way to get it out. you have to get it away to get it out, cleansing it through your body or slowing it down. So for her, it really brought up a lot of stuff. It was an incredible cleanse for her. She loved it. She learned how to slow it down and make it more simpler, but an intense cleanse that she does and definitely respects. So let me describe to you this 9-day Chaparral cleanse. The way to do it is to take chaparral. The best way and the one that's most recommended and known is to take whole chaparral. Take the leaves, and you're going to take a quart jar and fill it about a quarter of the way full of leaves. Usually not dried fresh, but if it has to be dried, probably not quite as much. The fresh has a little bit more water in it and takes up a little bit more room than the dried, but the dry becomes very, very potent. I really don't recommend using that much if you're going to use powder. You want to use a fresh or a cut part of this plant. So you're going to do about a quarter of the quart jar, and you fill this quart jar full of boiling water. This is a resinous plant. It can handle heat. As hot as you can get that water, pour it in, cap it off because you don't want to lose any of those precious oils while it cools down. You let that cool down, and then you strain it off, the liquid, and you drink that liquid for that day. It's best to let it cool before you drink it because, yeah, you will taste it all day long. There's almost, when you take it hot into your body, there's almost no getting it out of the taste of your mouth. So I recommend that you do it the day before, and so you can cool it down to drink it. Some of you hardcore people do it all the time, but me, I always cool it down. So on the second, so preparing for the second day, so you drink that quart all day. It doesn't matter when you drink it, all at once, divide it. Some people can't drink it all at once. Their systems are too quick and it goes right through them. Some people can't drink the whole quart. I'm just telling you what the old formula is, and so follow your body with that. On the second day of the 9-day cleanse, you would have filled hot water. You fill hot water in the same herb. So you're going to use the same herb as day 1. Day 2, you're going to fill it with really hot water, cap it, let it cool down, let it sit till room temperature, then put it into the refrigerator, or you can strain it and then put it in the refrigerator. But you want to get that liquid. That second day, you're going to drink that weaker version because it will have been less than the first day as far as the plant. It's not going to be quite as strong, so you drink that quart. Now on the third day, you take the same herb again in that quart jar, fill it with water, do the same thing, cap it. So on the third day, you have a weaker, less strong tea going on. And you're supporting your body during this with fresh, live vegetables. Lots of them, fruits and vegetables. This is the best way to do it. Yes, you can eat other things. Yes, you can do other things. But really, if you're going to bother to do a cleanse anyway, why don't you support it with lots of really healthy foods and things like that so that your body is more effective at doing the cleanse when it needs to do it. So yeah, you can eat other things, but this is a great way to be able to support your body. I mean, some people do it by juicing, like they will drink quarts of juice during the middle of this, or as some people don't eat much at all and just take lots of liquid into their body. This is a die-hard cleanse, so if you go 1 day or 2 days and you can't do it anymore, then stop, follow your body, and just maybe work up to this. Or maybe this is something that never really works for you. For some people, oh my gosh, wild horses couldn't drag my husband to do this. There's not a chance he would do the 9-day cleanse. Not a chance. And so he's open, he does them, but he knows his body, and this is not for him. But it tends to be for other people. I mean, I've had some severe things going on in my body, so I've needed to do some severe cleansing. This happens to be one of them. So let's get back to the 4th day. On the 4th day, you take new herb. You throw away the other herbs, you put it in your garden or compost, and you take the other herb, and you start with brand new in the bottom. And you start that cycle all over again, the end of 3 days, and then you do it again till 9 days. And that's your 9-day Chaparral cleanse. It's known for cleaning out things deep into the kidneys and supporting health in kidney and liver and cleansing out lots of things. If I were to do this 9-day Chaparral cleanse, I would definitely prepare before I did it. I would clean up my diet, which means organic fruits and vegetables as much as you can, if not just fruits and vegetables and whole grains. I would be eating barley. I would be eating barley meal and barley grain eating every day. I would be drinking barley juice and alfalfa juice, things to make you strong and healthy so that you could handle this strong of a cleanse. I mean, even people who are really ill, who want to go natural, no way should they ever go into a Chaparral cleanse or a cleanse that was involved with Chaparral if they're not strong. Like if they don't feel strong. There are other things to do to get you there. And you might start a teeny little bit of Chaparral if that's what resonated with you and vibrated with you and you felt just drawn to Chaparral. Use it with respect, and it can help us heal from some of these things that are like modern day plagues, like this yeast and bacteria that go crazy that medicines can't seem to go with. Well, it's time for us to look and see what happened a long time ago and what from the earth is connected there that can help us and help us cleanse in our life. Chaparral is that magical plant that, wow, needs respect, deserves respect, but is there for us in this modern day world where toxins abound. This plant attaches to toxins and helps remove it out of the body. You know, the Native Americans used it for external bruising and cleansing. My grandpa, he would use it, he would take cloths and he would dip it in Chaparral tea and put it in wounds of his cattle. It's a really cool plant that deserves being explored, but respect it and realize that this is one of those plants that is really on the verge of being made illegal again. And we can't have that happen because we can't misuse it. We need it to be available to everyone. And so respect it and it will respect you back.